Welcome back to the Iron Sights Podcast, SHOT Show 2026. Finally did it. We got Hunter Freeland in the chair.
Heck yeah.
What is up, my dude?
What's up, brother, man? Thanks for having me.
I'm stoked to be here. This one's been a long time coming. Met you in person last year. Joe Dawson put us together at a little event. He got to meet your wife, had some really good conversation. And you've been a guy that's been on my bucket list a long time. And you've shot me the calendar, the California travel calendar. Logistics are a thing, man. And I wasn't able to ever take advantage of that. Still need and want to do that. But we finally made it happen on this go here at this show. And I am stoked to talk to you.
Thank you, man. Looking forward to it.
I think we're going to go a few different directions. And I'm looking forward to that as well. You're a man of many words, super articulate. You say what you mean and you mean what you say. And I've always appreciated that about you. And we've had some good conversation. And I've also watched your journey and the things that you do. And I try to get intel on people like, hey, you took that Hunter Freeland class. How'd that go? And people are always very specific with the feedback.
Good.
So that's really all I have. So we're going to dig in a little bit, man.
Heck yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I'm going to allow you to just kind of start. I definitely want to, let's unpack the journey a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, you can start and finish wherever you want, but let's lay some groundwork and then we can dig into some stuff.
Cool.
Shoot.
Man, so it's been a long journey getting to where we're at today. And I've got the memory of a goldfish, so I'll do the best I can.
All right.
So, man, this kind of started early on. Make the point to say I was born rich to a very low to middle class family, right? Okay. Because I had an awesome father, right? I grew up in Bastrop, Louisiana on a good bit of property, right? So we lived out in the middle of nowhere around nothing. So I had nothing but time, right? And so it was myself, my brother, who is autistic, was low functioning autistic, and my dad, my stepmom. So we grew up on a bunch of property out there. So, man, as a young kid, I was curious, right? Like I had a motor, was probably kind of a badass little kid, right? So I went to the woods a lot, right? I grew up, for the most part, just going off my own with a gun in my hand, experimenting and trying new stuff and trying to create my own stories and life and world of my own.
Fishing pole?
Fishing pole all the time.
So what? So hold on. The way I understand Louisiana is you either live like. Actually, I think you posted this the other day. Some dude did a post about like you're either near the water, right, or you're not, right? And
you're either in Louisiana or you're in just southern Arkansas, basically. Right? And I'm from the southern Arkansas end of this.
Okay, gotcha.
From North Louisiana,
all
so
right.
not the coon-ass Cajun end of Louisiana.
So toting guns around,
so
fishing poles around,
and by proxy of just being a kid like that. You kind of just continue to progress. I grew up hunting, doing all that stuff. And I talk about this all the time. There's things that you learn as a kid on your own in the woods, in the forest, with a gun in your hand, right? What you can and can't do, right? What's right and what's wrong, right? What should be shot, what shouldn't be shot, right? What's responsible and what's not, right? So being very comfortable and acquainted around that growing up, there was a short period of time where my goals and plans had changed to go do something else, but I kind of knew I was always going to kind of go back around to some gun-oriented field, right, whether military, law enforcement, whatever. And coming out of high school, I had some opportunities that I squandered, and I was like, man, this seems like a great opportunity to go on my plan B, which was join the military.
Gotcha.
Which was fun. So I ended up joining the Guard, had a lot of fun. It didn't quite check all the boxes that I wanted it to. Because at the time, instead of making a well-rounded, logical decision, I was trying to go. I was trying to get out.
Get out of here.
Do the thing. I didn't want to get stuck in this little small town around the same folks I knew and kind of, weren't going anywhere. So did that and kind of got back to my unit, and everything kind of slowed down from the initial phases of things, and got to go take some cool schools and be around some dudes that I kind of looked up to and found to be quite knowledgeable about certain things. And we ended up missing a deployment cycle. I think it was like 2012 or 2013 due to manpower or something, right? And I thought, man, I don't want to sit around here and keep doing this. Like, this isn't scratching the edge, right? This isn't doing much for me, right? Every unit's a little bit different in the military. And I was approached by a good friend of mine, Tom McGee, and a guy by the name of Michael Milstead. And they're like, man, come shoot. Come try to shoot. Come do some competitive shooting with us, some EIC-based stuff, some military-style competitions, patent matches, rundowns, combat matches, stuff like that. And I was like, that seems cool. Let's give it a shot. Right. So I went and shot my first match in like 2013 up in Camp Robinson. and I got spanked. Like,
it's a common tale, right?
yeah, like I got just demolished.
Yeah.
And I was probably the best shot at my unit. I was probably the best shot around where I was, and definitely in my friend group. But man, I went up there and I got just hosed. I thought, all right, this is kind of hurting.
What's this about? Yeah.
This kind of affects me as a human being. So I kind of leaned into it. Right,
Okay.
I liked those dudes. They were a good friend of mine. I looked up to them. I wanted to be able to do the thing that they could do. So I just kind of inundated myself with it. Right, I spent the next 3 or 4 years just really soaking up every single bit of it that I could.
It's like a virus, right?
It is. It is a virus. It does take part of you, change it, alter, control it, and then your output changes. And man, I just kept kind of eating and enjoying it more and more and more, and started to win more stuff, and started to realize what a journey this could be. Right, and so being the end user for a portion of time, I did that natural next step that everybody wants to do, which is like, shit, I can do it. Why don't I just start monetizing it and teaching it? Mm-hmm. And I realized pretty quickly, about circa 2015, 2016, that I wasn't there. Right, like I could do some things that other people couldn't do, but I couldn't get you to do the thing that I wanted you to do.
Got it.
Right, so it took some deep self-reflection on that end to kind of step back and be like, all right, there's a burden here. There's a responsibility. It's not just to do it, but you got to do it right.
Okay, time out for a sec. So what are the things that are preventing you from being good at that?
What's that?
Well, you can do the thing, but you're not good at teaching the thing.
Just two drastically different skill sets.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. So what did you realize about yourself? Like you could do this thing and you understood it, but you couldn't get somebody else to understand it the way you could understand it.
I didn't know it enough.
Okay. So that's okay. So first off, I don't understand this the way I think I understand this. I understand it for me, but I don't understand the thing.
Yeah,
right?
And that's a level of self-awareness that comes from failure. Like that comes from time invested, right? I think you just had Billy.
Yep, Billy was on.
He talked about like training time versus training age and teaching age and stuff like that. Dude, that's awesome. Like I completely agree with that. Like just because you've been doing the thing for a while doesn't translate to teaching the thing for a while. So two drastic ends of the extremes.
Okay,
sure.
Gotcha.
And thankfully I had good mentors at the time that gut checked the heck out of me.
That's
It was like,
helpful.
listen, dude, it's not just about throwing the polo on and looking a certain way and saying the words. Like you have a burden to help these people, right? Don't take it lightly. And around that time, there was a bunch of other stuff going on in my life personally, and I needed a big change. I needed a shift. So I talked to my wife, and I was like, hey, I'm drowning, right? I need a big change because we've always benefited from big, drastic, immediate changes, right? So I took a job overseas, working for a contracting company, and had a blast, right? It was a lot of fun. I've never been paid so much to do so little, right? And it gave me time away, gave me disconnection from the problems that I had. It gave me perspective and stuff like that. So I remember coming back from that, while I was home on some leave, they tried to resell everybody. And I was like, well, I'm not sitting in the desert for $100,000 a year. Like, this is bullshit. So I came home, or stayed home, and took the next year and spent a pretty drastic amount of money, like $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 over the duration of a year, traveling, taking classes, lodging, ammo, guns. I bought a range, or at least a big property down the road from my house, built a range, built berms, set everything up.
So you could shoot?
So I could shoot.
Gotcha.
So I could really deep dive into this and do my due diligence so I could offer the package that dudes were looking for. Right?
Got it.
At least I was going to, by manual effort, fail my way to success, right? And I did it every single day. Every day that I was home, that I wasn't traveling, taking a class, shooting a match, something like that, I was on that range every single day. And it gave me time, and it gave me introspective to kind of figure out what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, where I wanted to go, what my persona needed to be. And it opened up a bunch of different opportunities along the way, right? Okay. So I got the opportunity to, had a good buddy of mine ended up hiring me for my first instructing job at Similar Tactical Group. Ended up doing some training and teaching inside the military as well, and then worked for Green Ops under Mike Green.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Had a blast. Yeah. Mike is a monolith of a man. Right?
I've never met him. Yeah.
As an instructor, I got more on the teaching side from Mike than I had gotten at any point up to that point.
Okay, that's like an inflection point.
Yeah. Mike, as a man and as an instructor, knows kind of how to push you outside of your comfort zone and be like, hey, man, I'm going to give you some very specific feedback that you're going to have to come into contact with, and you're either going to have to change it or own it. right? And he did that for me, and I really appreciate that. And then left Green Ops, took the director of training job in Texas at a big range down there, and then spent the next 2 to 3 years with MSP.
Okay.
And then about a year and a half ago, I went off my own.
All right.
And leaned in as hard as I could with it.
Yeah. How's that going?
I love it. I love it. I love being the captain of my own ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you learning?
I was 100% correct on how much I hated the business side of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, because you just want to help people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to show up and shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to do the internet stuff.
Yeah,
I don't want to do the logistics. I don't want to handle my expenses, my receipts, my lodging, and my rental cars, and deal with the airports.
The big boy stuff, yeah.
Fat gate agents that I fight with all the time. Yeah, I hate that, but I understand that it's a necessary evil. That, it's part of the pain of success.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go back to the shooting journey just for a second. I think I had misplaced the order of like the first competition experience to the contracting. I thought it was the other way around, or you discovered it there.
So I think I shot. So 2015, end of 2015, I came back and probably shot my first match within 2 weeks of that.
Okay,
because I had the time to do it. And I think we talked about that first match, right? Where I pulled in fresh home from overseas. I've got like Cry G3s on, some stupid shirt with a dumb saying on it, and enough pockets to kill somebody with, battle belt, dump pouch, triple retention holster. And I'm like, I get out of the car and I'm like, man, these guys.
Yeah.
Hope they're ready for a show, right? And then this old guy gets out beside me, and he's got like this Vietnamese rice patty hat on, some khaki shorts, and I'm like, God, dude, you have no idea what's about to happen here. And then I see these little kids running around, and I'm like, all right, let's do this thing. And I distinctly remember getting into halfway through the first stage and thinking, yeah, no, I fucked up. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. And I think I had the same decision to make when I left that match that everybody has to make, right? Like, that's stupid. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't like that. I don't like how it makes me feel. I'm not doing it anymore. Or, dude, that khaki short wearing, pink polo wearing 55-year-old dude just spanked you in front of your friends. What are you going to do?
This is the truth. Yeah.
Lean in.
Yeah. So, and leaning in, what I hear you describing is a dude that does things on his own. Yeah, kind of, So then having to going and getting this training, and I could just go back to the Green Ops, Mike at Green Ops. Can I ask what the moment was? Like
with Mike?
Yeah.
Oh man, there was multiple. Mike is brutally honest, and I love that.
Okay.
And I kind of adopted that as part of my thing as well in my experience with Mike. Dude, Mike just comes with such a, he's got a full 20, 25-year career behind him, doing all the cool things that everybody else wants to do. And has the perspective to kind of help align other people. I think as great as instructor Mike is, like, we benefit from the quality of man that he is to those of us in the industry. So I appreciate that relationship.
Yeah, you have to have mentors along the way. This has come up a couple of times, and I don't want to be too repetitive, but this is a different podcast and it's with you. But, I think back to, nobody does this in a vacuum. Nobody gets to anywhere, any level of success on their own. And as much as people are trying to do it on their own and want it to be theirs, ultimately, people have to be there for you and take care of you, even when you're not being so good to them, right? And then that lesson gets learned, and you might not recognize it right at that point. Sometimes it hits you smack in the face, right? And sometimes, again, the showing up and getting smoked, right? Or sometimes it's literally getting punched in the mouth, What responsibility do I have to this? Like, how did I get myself here, kind of thing? But then making the choice to go and get in front of people, and sometimes it's kind of serendipitous, like the moon, sun, and stars. It's any number of things, that kind of put you in those positions. I wonder how that stuff kind of shows up for you now at this stage, right? Like, are there people that you're going to constantly to talk to, with this stuff, or you feel like you've downloaded enough now to where you're getting through most of it on your own to develop your own thoughts around stuff? No, definitely not that. I have a painful level of self-awareness, right? So I'm fearful of just trusting myself along the way. And I think everybody needs
I heard this from Jim Dexter at Tactically Sound Training Center years ago, and it changed how I thought about it. Most people these days are beholden to their followers, to their internet people, right? Like to their Instagram followers, to their Facebook friends. Like that's who they're beholden to. So like they change and alter their output based on their audience, right? I think that's an issue, right? Because the mob is stupid and retarded and chaotic and not dependable. You need to have a square, like 4 points of friendship, right? Four people in your life that you can go to that will be brutally honest to you, that will not lie to you, that will give you the hard truth. That
Hold
you
it
need.
right up here in front of your face. Yeah.
And I didn't have that for a long time. And I do think it's one of the coolest feats of my life up to this point to have somehow gained a conglomerate of men in my life that bring such great value and honesty and this just aggressive want to make each other better. And you have to have that. Your audience, your microphone to your soul can't be connected to the internet. It's impossible.
Well, we'll talk about the internet here in a minute. I wonder, like in that discovery process, were you resistant to that help or to that environment or to that feeling of?
Yeah, early on.
Yeah. Talk about
it's
that.
It's uncomfortable. Yeah, especially as a young kid. So, and I see it today in the industry as well, like younger instructors coming up. And man, I look at these guys and I'm like, God dang, dude, the confidence, like the audacity.
Where does this come from?
To just come up here and spit it out.
If you're not wired like that, one's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you're, young, you've been doing this for 3 or 4 years as a shooter, but now you're transitioning to the instructor side. It's like, man, dude, like I can't like give you everything, but I can give you the lowest hanging fruit. And that's like, you need to be humble. Because the only thing that I'm 100% for sure of at this point in my career is that I don't have all the answers, right? And as a younger kid, as a young instructor who came into this industry way early, like way too young to really do some of the things that I wanted to do at the time. And
didn't have the life lessons yet.
Didn't have the life lessons yet. And were handed them quickly. You have to have that mentorship because it's uncomfortable. There's no part of having your shit pushed in by somebody else where you're like, thank you, sir. May I have another. We're not meant to be pinatas. So I was very resistant as a especially like a 21, 22, 23-year-old kid. There were some things that had happened in my life and I was very intent and committed to fighting the world. And I did not want any direction or correction.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with Paul Costa.
Paul.
Yeah. A lot of energy, that guy. I love that guy.
Big motor.
Yeah, huge. It's like he's like the Energizer Bunny, man. And nobody needs to wind him up, right? No. He figures out a way to do that on his own. But we were talking about like the emotional, there's emotion state, right? Ego and how that impacts that a little bit. Not directly, but we did dance around this a little bit. We talked about kind of the feelings that you get and, going back to the internet for a second here and what you're hearing and you're seeing and checking in with those emotions and kind of what you're seeing and staying balanced a little bit. And I related to a story. I told a quick story and I won't retell it, but it was, a conversation that I had with my mom and she identified what she thought, or she tried to identify what she thought I was feeling because of what I was projecting and how I was projecting it. And she's like, son, you seem really angry. And I'm like, and then immediately I was like, yeah, I am angry, right? It's easy, right? And I had a point in my life where I was that same guy, right? Like
you want an outlet for it.
It's me against the world. Yeah. All I need is for you to say, or even look at me the right way. And
the opportunity.
And it's on.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really that. I had to reflect on that and then go back to her and talk to her about it later. And I have a deep conversation about it. And I said, Mom, you said this and I get that. Like, I know how I can come across. But it's not that at all. It's frustration and disappointment.
Yeah.
And then I had to check in with like, what am I frustrated by? Because the anger can kind of take over whenever I had to peel back, a few layers.
Yep.
And the disappointment part didn't come up until I had to examine the frustration that I had.
Yep. At who? Who was that?
Yeah, who? Why? How much of this is on me? Like, do I have unreasonable expectations? And if I do, where did those come from? How did those develop? Yep. And so, kind of taking it back to shooting the space, the instructional space, that of being a teacher or a coach, that being a good shooter. I think what I what I perceived kind of early on, and I've had to re-examine this since this conversation, was anger, right? And I think in this space, it's, I don't know, I use this in air quotes, very wide and large air quotes, very masculine, right? And it seems at times, or it appears at times, people are very angry with one another, because of a disagreement of opinion or whatnot. And I think a good deal of it is frustration. And I sense that in you, like you're just frustrated because you want people to be better. And the route that they're taking or the thing that they're doing, going back to like being beholden to a following or a clientele or a paradigm of sorts. I don't know what it is.
Who is your God?
Yeah, exactly. Your Instagram Jesus, right? Or whatever that is, or that group, that tribe or whatever. I see people they get very frustrated with this. And I sense that in you. And I've been that way too. And part of my journey has just been trying to figure it out. Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit and kind of how you've handled it and where you are with it now. Like what frustrates you the most?
Everything. No. So, and I think people think I'm way more mad all the time than I am, right? The chase for efficiency in shooting didn't stop in shooting, right? Like the words I use and the verbiage I use is typically very direct and short and to the point. And a lot of people will read that as like aggression and anger. And if there is any aggression to be pulled from it, it's from the form of passion, right? It's not. I'm not mad at anybody, right? I don't really care what that person has to say about it, honestly. It comes down to investment, right? Everything has become so performative in this industry, just in life in general, right? You don't have to do the thing. You have to just talk about doing the thing. You don't have to know the thing. You just got to be able to talk about the thing. And I think it's, and this isn't specific to just me. I talked to a bunch of other guys too about this that are good instructors. And there's this constant battle between who gets to hold the microphone, right? And
the seat at the table.
Yeah, there's some sort of seat at the table kind of thing, but I don't really care about the table, right? You can have your own table and be massively successful. I think it comes down to two worlds, hobbyists and professionals, and then the two different ends of the investment end of it. You have personalities, and then you have coaches, right? I had a good friend of mine, like Doug Pierley, said this probably a decade ago, and he goes, you find out down the road that people want to become instructors for one of two reasons, and they're massively different personality types, right? The first person wants to be in front of people because they feel that they deserve to be in front of people, right? Because they have something to say and everybody needs to hear it, and they love that, right?
And
they love
stage.
the attention. Yeah, they love that part of it. And that doesn't make you a bad person, but that is the egocentric part of this issue, right? And then the other dude wants to be in front of people because he has figured out that to help as many people as possible, you do it in front of a group, right? And that's the massive difference between what we have today of these like entertainment style instructors that are just there to feed you this magic that isn't real, and dudes that really want to, help you, that aren't going to come to the table with all this extra colorful pizzazz TikTok bullshit, right? Like the world of shooting has been mastered, right? Shooting hasn't, for the most part, changed that drastically in the past 40 years. The dudes that were doing it at the highest level 40 years ago look a lot like the dudes that are doing it at the highest level today, right? The tactical world has finally kind of sort of slowly come around, but like we're not developing new shooting things, right? And I think if you were to ask myself and a lot of the other instructors that you've had on here, like how hard is it to become a decent shooter? I think each and every one of them would look you dead in the face and be like, man, it's not that hard.
Yeah, I would say that.
Right. And I think that's the big bummer for most people is they finally get to this point of just massive leaning in on it finally. And they're like, well, dude, this really isn't that hard of a thing to do.
And now what?
Yeah. And it's not like there was this massive gate or ceiling or whatever that had me there. Dude, the information's free.
And it took work.
Yeah,
I just had to put in the investment.
You can't bullshit your way in the shooting world, right? You are the shooter that you are the second that you walk on the range. Right? It doesn't matter that you use to have this split or this draw or this whatever. Dude, you are who you are in the seat that you're sitting in, And I like that. I like that a lot because dudes can't hide, right? It is completely based on...
It's very transparent.
Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah, so the internet, right, and social media, again, I think where I was getting, I think with that is, and you identified it. Like, you're very short, you're very to the point. I mean, you have a worldview, right? And then there's the views within the different pieces or lenses that you can look at the world in, right? And you spend, obviously, this is how you make your money and where your passion is and how you're helping people is in the shooting world. I think when I examine kind of the things that you put out, like, and you've already identified, like, I hate the marketing piece. I hate the business end of this. And there's a lot of things in that you said. And they all stack, right? They all stack, and there's a balance of stuff that you have to do in order to put it out there. And I think people sometimes look at, I'm not saying you, but there are others like you, right? That spend very little time. And I'm not saying you spend little time. This is not like a disparaging or a shot. It's just they choose to focus on certain things, and they may be very good instructors and, doing it for the right reasons and whatever else, and also happen to be very good on the social media, the marketing side of things. And then there's those that, whether they're good at it or not, on the marketing and side of all of that, they just don't spend a lot of time doing that. And for whatever reason, the consumer, maybe, and even some of the people that contribute from inside the industry out to the consumer, look at that, and again, now they're identifying and they're trying to copy those behaviors. Yep. That frustrates the hell out of me, because what they end up doing is they're selling their soul.
They are.
Yeah. And
you're going to be hated. It might as well be for exactly who you are.
Yeah. And it seems to me, the more you're okay with that, the better this thing goes for you.
Sure.
Right. But there are some adjustments along the way, right?
You can't just be an asshole. Yeah.
Yeah. And I never thought of you as that guy, but I have seen the way you handle yourself, and I've listened to you on other podcasts, and again, we've had some conversation. I wonder how you think people perceive you.
No, there's no telling. Dude, I find out something new about myself every day. Man, I can't control how I come off, but I can control what I put out, right? And I'm not any better at this than anybody else is, right? There's things that I put out, and I'm like, all right, I shouldn't have said that, right? But I also don't get nearly enough credit for the amount of shit that I type up and don't post, right? I made the point, especially going into business on my own last year, where I basically reached out to every single person that I had some level of beef with. I was like, listen, dude, whatever happened up to this point to get us to where we're at today, let's forget about it, right? I'm off on my own. It's just me, right? Love me or hate me, let's do it one more time, right? But make sure that if you're going to choose to be an enemy, right, or to dislike or whatever,
unfollow.
Yeah, let it be completely based on my genuine self, right, and not your perception of me through somebody else.
Let's handle this.
Yeah, let's just do it like men, right? And I would much rather be hated for exactly who I am, as opposed to be loved for this image of somebody that I've created a caricature of on the internet. Yeah.
That seems like a miserable existence. I'm not wired that way, and there's something to be said. I think it's interesting how people are, what they're exposed to and what they think it should be like. And you mentioned this, just about having a close group of men that you can hold you accountable, that you can lean in on it and do the same in return. Yep. And it's gotten wildly off base, right? I think that's what we're seeing, or what we've seen. And this is not just in shooting, right?
It's big footprint.
It's a huge footprint.
Yeah.
I'm curious on your thoughts on that, and how that gets changed. How do we reel that back in? And we can stick to the shooting world on this too, just so that we're not talking so broadly, but we can be as broad as you want to be. But how do we reel this back in? Because I feel like it's going to have to get a lot worse before it gets better. I'm not exactly sure what that looks like. Yeah. I do feel like there's some progress being made in some cases. I mean, you used to have, to me in the past, and again, to identify, I think in the shooting space, and firearms instruction space, we just keep it that, both on the consumer and the deliverer end of thing, provider end of this, there were way more factions in the past, right? I think that's what I saw, right? But that was my perception, given what I knew and where I was coming into it in my own journey. I was like, okay, so there's teams, right? Kind of, or tribes of people, and they kind of subscribe to this thing. And we've seen some of those tribes completely implode, right? And I saw that kind of happening, because I was like, hey, tribes are good, right? They are good for
how history has worked.
That's exactly right, man. And they serve a purpose. But the tribes that stick together, that weren't completely annihilated by something that was way outside of their control or whatever, and we could talk about that. But my point in that is I could almost identify it before it happened. And you're just watching whether that's, man, this is growing really fast, and there doesn't seem to be like a home base or a foundation behind this. Or, you got this conglomeration of personalities, and what are they in this for, and what direction is this going? But you could watch it happening, and I was just waiting. It's like you're waiting for the shoe to drop, like this is happening. But you saw other folks that were really just trying to stand on their own and go, I don't want to be involved in any of that. Yep. But I recognize there's strength in numbers to a certain extent in terms of the message that I'm trying to put out. So I feel like the tribal thing is kind of dissolved a little bit. Like they're always going to exist. It's the history of humankind. Like we're wired that way, right? And we're looking for that. So I'm curious on your perspective of this, particularly given you were kind of part of, some tribes, like you mentioned, Green Ops and whatever, and then now you're out on your own, and your perspective kind of looking back in where we are with this. Yeah.
If you'd asked me that question 3 or 4 years ago, I'd have given you a totally different answer.
Okay.
Well, it's one of my hard things with podcasts is I change my mind on stuff all the time.
Well, that's why, I say that all the time about myself too. Like I'll go hard on something, but I'll always be like, if I've changed my mind on it, 100%. I'll tell you I've changed my mind, and I'll tell you the reasons why. So yeah let's hear it, man.
So if you'd asked me 3 years ago, I'd have told you, man, I think all the tribal stuff sucks, right? There needs to be one click, and that's the click of progressive shooting that's getting everybody to as good as they can be. And then everybody's going to be a GM, and everybody's going to be bullseye, EIC, double distinguished, right? Like everybody's going to be perfect.
It's very idealistic of you, Hunter.
It is. Yeah, man, sometimes you lean in too hard, right? And I think today, we're a few more failures in the future, a few more successes in the future, slight bit more mature. As much as everybody hates how many different sects and groups and ideologies and cults are in this industry, I think the majority of it's probably a good thing, right?
It can be productive.
Some of it is obviously counterproductive that you're always going to have, right? But the other part of it, not everybody wants to be a GM, right? Not everybody wants to be a great pistol shooter. Some dudes just want to go throw smoke grenades around and shoot out the front glass of their car, right? I think that's retarded. I think it's stupid, right? But that's their money to spend. Yeah. Right? They're an adult American. Let them do what they want, right? And no amount of me getting on the internet and jumping up and down and saying this shit is stupid and all of that is probably it's not going to win any of those dudes over. But what it is going to do is make people think that opinion is synonymous with me, right? And I've struggled with this in the past, right? It's hard to watch some of the stuff that goes on in this industry and just be like...
And be quiet about it.
Here we go, right? Because I think we get better through the conversation. I think if we don't talk about it, bad things happen, right? Like we have to... If you're in this space and you're an instructor and you're a professional and you are invested here now, and you don't want to talk about it, why are you here? Like what did you do all the stuff that you've done up to this point for, if not to be able to talk about it, right? And to interact with other professionals and figure stuff out, right? I think part of it's good, part of it's bad. I don't think there's any fixing it though, right? Because you look at some of the biggest money makers, biggest names in this industry, they don't provide training. They're not going to make you a better shooter. They provide an experience. It may be an awesome one. It may be super cool, right? You may get your heart rate up to 210. You may get yelled at. You may get dirt in your pants for the first time in your life. That's awesome. That's a good experience for you. But don't confuse that with capability. Don't confuse that with being able to drop foreheads on foreheads when shit matters. Right? Just have an understanding, a level of self-awareness, and an expectation about yourself.
Yeah. Let's talk about a couple words you brought up. One of those, and more specifically, let's talk about that word being professional versus in comparison to the other word you use, which is a hobbyist. Because those two things absolutely exist.
Sure.
Right? Some people think they're one thing, more of the professional than they might be. Yeah. I'm curious how you define this, like particularly in this space. And I think this is a conversation that's come up probably more recently. I don't know kind of who inspired it. And it will always be part of the conversation, but like professionalism in this community is a very broad term, right? This community of instructors, right? And that's just a reality. Like there's so many things, right? You mentioned like, are you an experience provider? Are you an instructor, coach? You can have the conversation about what's an instructor versus a coach. What are we doing? Or are we just regurgitating information? I need to get this person through this checklist, handle this administrative task, whatever it is, versus how do I help somebody understand those things within that checklist of things to do so that they can do that on their own on a regular basis. That's kind of maybe a simple way of looking at it. But let's go back to professional for a second. What does that even mean, man? Like, what does it mean to you in this space?
I think there's a lot of nuance to it.
Yep.
But I think the first and easiest part is investment, right? Like, I'm a professional coach. I'm a hobbyist jiu-jitsuer.
Yeah.
Right? Which means I maybe roll once a month, once every other month, right? And that's all I'm probably going to do, right? I have no want to go become a competitive jiu-jitsuer, right? I go rappel from time to time. I do not want to go rappel from Mount Everest or wherever they go do high-level rappelling, right? Yeah. Like, that's not my thing. So there is a level of investment. And I think I think we've seen this kind of new awakening of like professional shooters that are also hobbyist coaches, right? So here's the thing, man. And it's not I'm not punching down and I'm not talking shit and I'm not trying to hurt anybody. But if you teach 3 to 7 classes a year, that you're a hobby instructor, and that's fine, right? It's not a bad thing, right? But if you shoot more matches a month than you teach classes, you're a professional shooter, right? You're not a full-time instructor, right? And I think we can look at it from the level of investment. We can look at it from time in. You can look at it from a bunch of different ways. I think at the end of the day, I don't think anybody really cares about my opinion on it as much as how to navigate the waters that are this industry, and like, who do I go to? Who do I spend my time with? Who
that's why I'm asking. Yeah.
Is something of value? Who just has a bunch of followers? Who's actually somebody to listen to? And man, that's a hard level of discernment for the average person, right? Because it's hard to look past the incredible videography that we have these days, phenomenal pictures and filters and dudes saying the right thing and having this full-on persona. And you the biggest and best thing that I can tell people to do is the same thing that I did, and just inundate yourself. If this is the thing that you want to do, and you don't want to just be like a weekend dude that goes to classes once every year and that's their experience. If you really want to do this thing, man, lean in on it, right? And you will find that the vast majority of the dudes that you've created in your minds to be heroes are not, right? And that's the biggest bummer in this industry is about 95% of the dudes that you meet will not be as large as you expected them to be, right? Not stature-wise, but as far as like the light that they carry, right, is typically not stack up well as you perceive them originally. And I think you just have to get out there and try it. Like, you're going to be bummed out, right? You're going to learn things about yourself. You're going to learn things about other people, but you're not going to figure that out from somebody else's opinion or from reading a class review. Like, go figure it out, man. There's dudes I've taken classes from that everyone on the internet would tell you right now that they're the greatest instructor out there. They're incredible shooters. They got so much from it that I wouldn't pay for it twice. Right. And there's dudes that'll tell you that I didn't like that guy at all. And man, I got a lot from that dude's class. So I think the diversity of instruction is important. It's not one size fits all.
Yeah. Let's talk about the hobbyist, the professional shooter who's the hobbyist instructor. Because that's always going to be a thing, right? There's an entry point for everybody, right? I mean, you even said yourself, like, hey, I'm a shooter, now I'm going to go teach it, and you recognize, like, oh, I have some things I need to work on here. Yeah. Talk about that journey. You referenced that podcast we did with Billy, and we were talking about training age and kind of where you come in, and we didn't talk about it in these terms, but kind of earning, the thing. And that's a tough one, because what are the metrics that we're measuring this by, to your point? But you hit it high level with, like, where are you putting the majority of your time and investment, and where does more need to be put in, which means what needs to be taken off the plate over here to put in on this plate over here. And it's a journey, right? You have to go do it. You have to, Paul Costa was sitting in the chair, as I mentioned before when we were talking about this, and he self-admittedly was like, man, when I first started, man, I didn't know this. I didn't know what I didn't know, but I was wrong. I mean, I can say that in my own career. Same. Like, after 5 years of doing it, I wanted to go back and to apologize to all the people that I trained in the first 3 years. because I went into it with all the right intentions, right? And with everything that I knew, because somebody had told me this, right? And they had been successful in whatever that metric was of success in their particular field or genre and whatever they were working in. And to me, like, I thought that was right, but I had to have those reps along the way. I had to have the successes and the failures along the way. And I had to put time into examining that. And you can't really put the time back into examining it until you've done it long enough to have a body of work to examine. Doing 1 or 2 classes and having great reviews from that, and you know, people, okay, great, right? You're off to a good start, but you need to keep doing this in this world of discovery, you know, in order to get there. And I think we're seeing a lot of that again, and I think Instagram has a lot to do with this. You know, 20 years ago, nobody knew what competitive shooting was. I mean, 5 years ago.
Especially the mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and the consumer. 5 years ago, things changed a little bit. And in the last couple of years, it's grown exponentially, like on the competitive side of things, and to where it's, and I think USPSA as an example is like, it could be turned into more of a legitimized sport, but it isn't,
100%.
but it's not, right? It isn't. However, people are putting so much weight into it. And I think competition is good, right? For a lot of reasons. It's a tool for sure. It's definitely a great training tool. It's a great self-examination tool. It's a reality check. It's a test.
Probably the biggest pressure check that you can possibly
at least
create.
at least in this world, right? There really probably isn't a better way, right, to actually test,
or one that provides longevity. Like you're not going to be able to go to downtown St. Louis and start that gunfight enough to really figure it out.
That's my point, right? So you're getting more exposures to this, right? And or the consumer is, and the shooters are. They're getting more exposure to this. But even the sport, and I use that in air, is still a hobby, right? I mean, there's very few people that actually get paid to do this thing, and who are they getting paid by, right? To do this, it's not the consumer that's paying them. They are indirectly by buying the piece of equipment that has the same name that's on the back of that jersey or whatever else. But it's not really well defined, right? And the more I've learned about it, particularly just in the last few months, as a matter of fact, the more questions I have about it, like, what are we really doing here? So we're chasing these acronyms, M-class, GM, you know, those kind of things, and people are putting all that investment into that thing, and then recognize when they get there, you know, a lot of times, like, now I did make this investment in becoming a good shooter, and now I want something back from it. And it seems to me other people are getting that back, and this is how you do it. So now you have a class, and you have people come, and they pay you money, and you show them the thing that you do really well. But we're very early in the early stages of people discovering this, and there's some of these shooters coming into the market. So I'm wondering, like, from your perspective, looking kind of in at it, like, what are you seeing? Let's talk about actually, rather than things that may frustrate you, that you hate about it, what do you see out there right now that's really positive? Like, what are the things that, like, in the space of instruction and the consumer market, like, what's going well, like, in your opinion?
So there's a double-edged sword with the industry getting younger.
You mean with the people that are adopting it are younger?
Yeah. So like COVID, something major happened through COVID, and a lot of major stuff happened through COVID. But we lost a large portion of the older community in the gun world, right? And I'll say lost as in like they just went to the woods and died. I mean, like, there was a lot of life took over, right? People's businesses and real lives took over to where they couldn't just full-time their hobby anymore. And then you had a bunch of younger folks that were stuck indoors or like mandatorily stuck indoors, right? So where did they go? The internet, right? And they naturally gravitated towards what was cool and this outward profession of who they wanted to be and how they wanted to be viewed and stuff like that. And man, I think that's a very cool thing, right? Because that's the same exact thing for the most part that kind of our generation, or not say our, but my generation got affected with the GWAT world, right? Like, war drives many facets of many industries and organizations, right? And I think with coming to the end of the GWAT era, and then we have this massive influx of younger dudes coming into it, that also behind them, there's this driving force to get away from the school of the old world and to get into this new practical shooting stuff. That's obviously not new, but you know, it's very refreshing.
Yeah, to them, right? And it's an outlet.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's very refreshing. The only downside is like we're losing a lot of like historical context because people only want what's right now.
Well,
They don't understand where
they're
it
also
came from.
they're also seeing what's being fed to them right now.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking. It wasn't documented. It wasn't really well documented. Whereas now everybody's wearing a camera on their hat or their phones out, right?
Yeah. And there's just, I love the historical relevance of the shooting world, right? And from the second that this country was founded to, all the way up to Colonel Cooper's life, all the way up to Louis Arbuckle and Brian Enos and Rob Latham. And man, there's such an incredible, deep, rich
Lineage,
world and history here that I think if you just like the shooting stuff, that's cool. But man, you're missing out on just this singular track of this evolution of something that's never happened anywhere on the face of the planet.
Yep.
And it happened here, and we get to benefit from it. And it like one of the cool things that the older generation did is they wrote it. They wrote the shit down, right? There's books, there's hours and years of information out there. It's not going to come beat down your doorstep on Instagram, right? But it's there, right? There's full volumes and books and VHS tapes full of this shit, right? But it's not going to come and donk you on the head and be like, hey, read this, watch this.
In 15 seconds or 30 seconds.
Yeah, know this stuff really well because it's going to benefit you. It's not super flashy, but man, it provides some grounding and some basis. Yeah. And I think we got to maintain that as we go on. We're shooting because it's fun, because it's a part of our culture, because the very foundation of our lives depend on it, right? The Second Amendment is the thing that we base everything off of. It can't just be a fun little sport for dudes to do on the weekends, right? It can't just be a money-making opportunity for 25-year-old kids that don't want to go to college, right? It needs to be a thing that's a reminder of like, man, this is fun, this is cool, this is flashy, but at the end of the day, let's not mistake the fact that the reason that we're out here is the fact that you are preparing for the opportunity or for the situation or chance that on 2:00 on a Tuesday evening in broad daylight in public, you're going to have to pull your gun out of your pants and point it at another human being and distinguish that light, right? I don't think we get two lives. I don't think we come back down the road. You're snuffing that flame out. And I think that's a massive thing and a burden and a responsibility that kind of gets glossed over. Right?
I agree.
It's just guns and holsters and paper targets, right? Like there's a responsibility that we have to do this, and there's a responsibility to doing it right.
That resonates with me because that's how I entered into this, because I was in that situation where I might have to do that. And I recognized real quick the reality of all of what you just said, that I had not been responsible. Like I put myself in a situation to protect my business, and during a time when I was a little nutty and had the thing, right? Knew about the thing to a certain extent, certainly not at the level. What I discovered, was that I hadn't really put a lot of thought into this. I was rooted in like, this is a protected right, in our Constitution. I'll go back to the history piece in a minute, but I did understand that. I did understand the responsibility and the gravity, but I had not taken the personal responsibility to make sure that I was confident and competent with the thing to actually be able to do what you said if that moment arised. And that was my basis for then seeking instruction and learning to do this thing. I had not ever seen, I'd not followed or, seen the shooting on the interwebs and whatever else. Like I knew a little bit about it. I mean, it certainly popped up for me. I knew that there was competition shooting. I knew that, that there was people out there doing this, but it wasn't something I followed or invested in any time, and I certainly hadn't invested any money in. So I did very much like what you said. I invested a ton of time and money in both, right? Sunk it in there to seek knowledge with that as my basis for why I was seeking it. But that is not what I was getting when I was going to these classes, right? And if I was getting that, it was in a very performative type of fashion, right? And it was almost like some of these guys were saying exactly the same thing, but it didn't have any meat behind it.
Yeah.
And I was, more than that, I was observing the people around me and why they were there. And a lot of those people were there for the same reason I was. Maybe they didn't have as deeply developed why as to why they were there, but they had something that was driving them there. Was moms, right? Single moms. One lady I remember this vividly. She had walked out into her living room. Somehow the door had been left unlocked, and it was just that night where some dude, it was a lady actually that was tweaked out on meth. She heard her wrestling in her living room. She walked out, and she and her daughter sleeping in the other room. She's like, "This cannot happen again. I cannot feel like this again." Like, and that's why she was there. But there was zero fucking connection between what that instructor was saying and doing and performing to what this lady had. And that bothered me. And it was looking down the other side of the line. There were law enforcement officers there, that clearly were not comfortable handling their guns, right? And
it's tough, right?
Yeah, it was really hard for me to watch. And so as I was observing this, I was like, man, there's some major missing gaps here. What is it? I think a lot of it actually roots to what you say is there's not a super deep understanding of the history of this. Like, and so when I was talking about the history of the Constitution or, our Second Amendment right, I think that's kind of where we're at in the world right now with all the crazy shit that's going on out on the street and in streets all over. So this is not just an isolated thing. This is everywhere, but particularly here, not knowing how we got here, right? Mm-hmm. And if you don't know how we got here, and I think you said this, like, I'm not saying that we need to fix it, right? There needs to be an awareness here so that we can improve it and change it. And so again, rooting back, that where you come into this, like, we're not teaching U.S. history in schools, right? So
the PowerPoint class.
Yeah, it's like it's a 30-minute unit, right, of whatever.
That's spread across 2 days.
Yeah, in on some very critical things, to have a deep understanding, to be able to make decisions about doing things, to be discerning, right? And look at something and go, why does that person feel like that? Or that I can't answer, but where would they have gotten the idea that this shit is okay, right? Or that, this should be acceptable. And how did we get to this point? And so going back to shooting, like, I look at it and I go, like, there's so many things happening in it. And it's evolved so fast because of people are seeing it in different ways. Mm-hmm. So going back to competitive shooters becoming instructors, why are you doing that, right? Is it to help people become better competitive shooters, or
to get a bigger name?
Yeah, to get a bigger name.
And it's interesting, right? Kind of on the same frame of that, I think a lot of people attribute the shooting world to be a masculine thing, right? Like, and I think that's oftentimes why a lot of people are so defensive of their skill set, is it's like attack to their manhood. It's like, man, I don't find shooting to be this overarching masculine act, right? Like, it's a martial skill, right? But like, I don't find shooting to be as manly as like bare knuckle boxing or something like that. And if it is such a masculine act, then you're going to have to tell me why there are 14, 15 to 16-year-old little girls with Grandmaster cards.
Yep.
Right? Like, what's your reason? Like, is it time? Is it effort? Is it, I just don't care to get that good, which is fine. That's a standpoint of my class, right? And I think this kind of alludes to kind of what you're wanting to get to.
That's why I'm asking. This is where I'm
Grandmaster ideology.
That, and how are you delivering this underlying message in your own coaching? So we can start with the first thing. Yep.
Yeah. So I end every class similarly by saying this. The 2-day class is always fun to watch, right? Because everybody shows up at the beginning of day one. And the first thing everyone does when they get into a group of people that they don't know is they just start ego checking.
Oh, yeah.
They look around, look at
sizing everybody up,
pants that dude has on, the tattoos.
It's a natural instinct.
Yeah. Like, we've been doing it for millennia because it's benefited us for millennia.
What tribe's that guy from?
We didn't stop doing it because it stopped working. It works even better these days. Pattern analysis is how we stay.
It's a survival mechanism, man.
Yeah. And then, I start changing how you grip the gun and changing what you see in your sights and giving you these different expectations. And I'm pretty sure by the end of day one, everybody hates me. Right? And I'm okay with that, right? Because some random dude with a dumb beard and a shitty accent came in and changed everything about what I was doing. I'd be like, all right, motherfucker, like, let's pump the brakes a little bit, dude. I pay you $600 to fix me, not reorient myself to the world, right? And then,
or show me what you learned at your first match, right? Like how bad I suck today.
100%, right? Give me, that's the ego check.
This is what I'm paying for.
Yeah. And then I have dudes do 4-step process when they go home on day one, right? Go home, put your shit down, do nothing else. Walk up to your wife, hug her, right? Give her a big hug, give her a big kiss, look her dead in the face, tell her that you love her, that you care about her. I think the hardest thing in life to find is your people. And I think that we take the people that we live with for granted a lot of the times because they are an expectant, not a gift. Right?
It becomes kind of a permanent fixture.
It does. It does. We acclimate to it, right? And it becomes smaller than it actually is. Number 2, go home and eat a big fucking steak because red meat's good for you. Right? It raises your testosterone, makes you a better man. It's good for you, right? Number 3, drink salty water, right? Good mineral salt, right? Not any bullshit sodium, but good mineral salt. And then number 4, I want you to watch this video, right? And it's an old Rob Latham video. And really it's just to get dudes to understand that, like, I'm not selling you bullshit, right? It's been validated for 45, 50 years. Rob Latham has been saying this since he was 16 years old. So just relax a little bit, right? We're going somewhere with this. And they come back at the beginning of day 2, empty cup, they start filling that shit up. And by the end of day 2, I get to see this passion in the majority of the class's eyes to where they are just emboldened to go become a better shooter. Man, I love that. It keeps me on the road. But I have to remind them that if we end up at the end of our lives as grandmaster shooters, but D-class human beings, we have failed. We've failed not only ourselves, we've failed our family, and we've failed our community and our country, right? I want the hostile intent to become a better shooter, right? To translate it in other aspects of your life. I want you to be a grandmaster shooter. That's cool, man. There's less GMs than there are Navy SEALs. There's less GMs than there are SOP dudes, right? That's cool. That's a cool ass thing. But if you only become a grandmaster shooter and you're just a shitty person, I've got no time for you, right? I want you to be a grandmaster husband, a grandmaster brother, a grandmaster dude to work with, right? I want you to be a grandmaster partner, a grandmaster supervisor, right? These are the ways that we start to fix the problems that are actually plaguing us, right? Like, dude, nobody is getting benefit other than you from going to a class and becoming a better shooter, right? I get a slight benefit from it, right, monetarily, and then hell, you may be somewhere around a loved one of mine and you help save their life one day, right? I do get that benefit. But I want my classes to, while we're building better shooters, to also build better men, right? And I'm not trying to put you through like some fake masculine buds, man camp bullshit, right? I'm not trying to create a Christian warrior army behind me. What I am trying to do is to give you some level of basis to look inside of yourself and be like, all right, is this want to become a better man only embellish itself inside of the shooting world where I enjoy it and I get to look a certain way, or does it actually come up in the uncomfortable aspects of my life? Right? Am I becoming more honest? Am I being more dependable? Am I more disciplined? Right? Am I a motivating factor for others? Right? Like that's my route. That's where I want to go. Right? There's lots of other dudes that are like, man, you come to my class and make you GM. That's awesome. Right? I think those dudes should be able to do that and have that opportunity. But it's not the path I'm on. Right? I want both ends of that extreme.
Yeah, I just want. How is it being received?
It seems good. So the dudes that come through the class seem to love it. The dudes that read about it on the internet have opinions about it. It's like, man, I'm not going to argue with you about something you had experience, but if you ever want to come through and confirm that belief, come on through.
So I've had this conversation a few times, not with you, with others that approach the thing the same way. Let's just say, from a 10,000 foot view perspective, that's how they approach this. And the commonalities or the alignment that I kind of see in that is that these dudes really do understand who they are, but they are rooted in all of the same things: the history, right, the meaning behind it, and a really well developed why as to why they're doing it. And they all can't believe they get paid to do it. Yeah, right. Like it's weird to them. And there's a little bit of like imposter syndrome. It kind of like, I can't even, like, how did I get here kind of thing.
I had a really good conversation the other day with a good friend of mine about imposter syndrome, right? And I think we'd look at it a very specific way, right? Where everybody's like, oh man, you should have some sort of imposter syndrome, or you shouldn't. Everybody has a different opinion on it. Having dealt with that a lot, I think there's two points that I'd like to make. One, there is a natural level that you should have, right? There should be this kind of astonishment where it's like, fuck,
right?
Check this out, dude. This is cool, right? I call that the Stand By Me premise, right? Where the kid gets to sit in the box and watch his best friend be an MLB baseball player, right?
Right.
And I guess the other end of that is, I truly believe, having experienced this on my own, that a lot of imposter syndrome is thousands of years of evolutionary brain screaming to you from your psyche and from your self-conscious that's telling you, like, hey man, you don't stack up to the image that you've created, right? And I think we got to come into contact with that at some point. Like, at what level of disaster or failure is it going to take to kill the caricature of yourself that you've created, right? And I think imposter syndrome is viewed almost like a moral virtuous thing where it's like, oh man, I'm just
I'd agree with that.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I just feel like I shouldn't be here.
I agree.
It's like, dude, maybe that's the inside. Maybe it's your heart or your brain saying, hey, dude, people view you more than what you are, right? Or maybe you're not putting in the work and the effort to be able to stand on that same plank and put that chest out and chin up.
Yeah, I would agree.
Maybe you're projecting. I don't know, but that's how I felt as a young kid coming up when people told me that.
Yeah, I think I look at this and they're going like adult behaviors, right? Going back to the story I was telling you about my mom, and that was my challenge. And some of what I got in the conversation that frustrated me was, well, that's how this person was raised, right? But this person is 40 fucking years old, man.
Yeah.
Like at what point are we responsible as adults to check ourselves, right? And leave that shit behind. Like you're an adult now, you have to make some adult decisions and you have to own those, the consequences of the decisions that you make. And I think the filter that gets put on that, or when I say filter, it's almost like building that caricature, of yourself or whatever with the internet, right? And what people can say and get away with, right? Without suffering any kind of consequence it's problematic, man. And that's where we are. And by doing that, then you lose touch with the self-check-in and being able to check in, but you also lose touch with the emotion altogether, like anything that's attached to it. And to your point, then things become very virtuous when you start saying things like that.
You lose connection to where you exist in the food chain. And I think that's probably one of the biggest issues we have in society right now, is I think we are so dislocated and disconnected from actual force and violence, like true amounts of violence and pain and suffering, that we create our own, right? Especially like microaggressions and shit like that. I think we have, through, 20, 30 years of social policy, we are experiencing almost a level of revenge of the nerds that is hard to come to terms with, right? Because there's a lot of dudes that will stand up and look at you right now through a computer screen and be like, I'm going to come get your shit. There's nothing you can do about it.
I struggle with this. Yeah, I struggle. Yeah.
And it's like, dude, 500 years ago, you just go missing, right? Like 500 years ago, you just wouldn't be a factor. We wouldn't have to deal with it.
I don't even know if it's that long ago, man. I think you go back
150.
150 years.
Like you just wouldn't be a problem, right? And think what you want of progressivism and all that. We've gotten so far away from that I think, especially with men, right, martial men, that when we hear certain things, how it's said or who it's said from, we get that like tick of like that little of aggression, right, that makes us men. I think that's our evolutionary brain reminding us like 100 years ago, you wouldn't have to deal with that shit,
right.
Yeah. And I think the closer or more alignment we get back to that, the healthier we get mentally, right? Because, dude, I remember that as a child or as a kid, right? Because I had a bunch of older friends. I had a much older family. I was the youngest in my family. You have to act a certain way, right? You have to check yourself.
There's a hierarchy.
There is a hierarchy. Like you're going to get your shit chopped off pretty quick if you just walk into a room and start throwing mud against the wall. And I think we've lost that as a society, and we've definitely lost it as an industry, right? And I miss that, right? I miss older mentors. I miss these dudes that were like, all right, man, come on in there. You can't say shit like that. Man, I want to say shit like that. It's like, but you can't. You understand why you can't. It's like, well, something's got to rein all this stuff back in.
Right. The irony in it is that it is, what's the word I'm looking for? It is in this industry. Like it is. It's ironic. Like with the personas that are being pushed out there, and yet we can't take criticism. We can't be checked. We, the collective we, right? And how dare you, right? Check me on this.
The audacity.
Yeah. Like audacity, which then plays into the audacity that you were mentioning about the confidence that comes along with it.
Oh, yeah.
The reason that confidence exists a lot of times is because you have not been punched in the mouth.
100%.
Right? Like it's likely the root of it. Like you,
and we know that because we experienced that.
Yes.
Right. That's a thing that should have happened on their natural progression. And it may still come happen. Like it may be a thing that we're just a little bit early on the observation here, and it's coming. right? And I don't want that for anybody, but I also understand that it's a rite of passage.
It's a necessity.
Get shit pushed in times.
Yeah, it's a necessity. Look, I'm going back to the younger generation coming in I try to have patience with this.
Yeah.
I really do. I really work on that. Like, I'm a business owner. I just think about where I came from, and I recognize they're having a different experience than I had.
Yes. I'm terrible.
I was actually talking to my dad the other day, who just turned 85, and we were kind of getting into some stuff, and my brother, I was having this conversation with my brother. I'm like, brother, you did not get the same dad at 5 years old that I had at 5 years old. He's 5 years younger than I am. Mm-hmm. And you definitely didn't get the same dad at 10 years old that I had when I was 10 years old. Right? And I thought back about that. And so I have I have two daughters, one's 13 and one's in her 20s now, early 20s. And I think about the lessons that I was taught by my 23-year-old, right? And the things that she's taught me, and how I handle now the 13-year-old, right? And fundamentally, it's the same. Like, I have some very simple rules, right? And there's not a lot of them, and everything kind of falls underneath that. So your decision making, your behaviors or whatnot, as long as we're not violating these two things, we're probably staying within the lanes. But man, the second you get outside of that lane, that's a complete intolerance for it.
Get rained on.
Complete intolerance. And we made that very clear from the get-go. And those parameters seem to either be non-existent, or those rails are so wide to the right and the left that we're caught in the middle of this thing. And I'm super challenged by it. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, not everybody's had the same experience that I've had, right? Or that they're not getting the same experience that my kids are getting, or whatever. So I work on really hard, like, how to deal with this. Like, what's my level of patience, and what's my level of tolerance, and kind of and then also empathy. Like, I'm like, you just don't know what you don't know. Yeah. At the same time, like, I am very intolerant of this, but I have to work on my patience level to somehow find some middle ground on it.
Because the responsibility falls back on us, and not the folks with the limited view.
Right. How do I communicate this message? How do I teach this lesson without being just the old salty dog? You're just like, you're just the old man, you live in, I'm Gen X, right? So like, you're living in the 80s, you're living in the 90s kind of thing. Things are different now. Yeah, they're fucking different, and I'm not. It's not working out too well. I'm not saying it was perfect back then, but that was my experience, right? People that were born in the 60s
said the same exact thing.
Said the same thing. I talked to a lot of law enforcement folks, right? And there's, that institution has lineage, right? Where there's guys that have been on for a long, long time. This is the way we've done it. We do it because this is the way we've always done it. And they struggle there too. I don't know what the answer is, man, but I'm curious, like, with you, with how you work on that, like in can I publicly, how old are you?
I'm 35. So like, it's really hard to have this conversation, right?
It drives me. The
issue that I run into is I started early, right? So my peer group was much older than me, right? In every single facet of my journey, it's always been older. And I had to take the lefts and the rights that came with that. Dude, I'm vehement. I do not want to be like an older curmudgeon,
crusty
cousin that comes in. You're like, fuck, this guy comes back.
Dude, I struggle with that. I have to check in. Like, I'm like, am I just being the old?
I don't want
asshole?
that, because dude, I'm still young enough to like have a hatred for the old dudes that are just like, I fucking don't want red dots.
Right. Yeah.
Batteries are bad, and I drive a horse and buggy to work every day.
Yeah, my biological age, I'm not challenged by, but like where I am in my head and in my vibrance and whatever. Like, dude, I look at this fucking old guys. I'm like, that dude's like 2 years older than I am. Yeah. Like I guess I am that guy. Am I that guy? Like, it's
and I've
hard.
heard some of these guys and I don't mean to start off like that, but it's like, oh man, it just comes with time. And they'll be like, I've been doing this for 8 years. And it's like, all right. But it comes with more experience then. Yeah. If it's not a time thing, then it's at a level of investments. It's coming, but it's man, honestly, I do a lot of like on the side mentoring for a bunch of younger instructors and guys trying to make that transition and stuff. There's some very drastic different personalities in the younger generation than what we have. Like, I think a lot of dudes my age and a little bit older, so like 35 to 45, you ended up in this spot because you transition out of the military, out of law enforcement.
Yes.
This was kind of a thing that happened byproduct of, you either loved it so much that it was going to be the only thing that you did, or it was like the only applicable thing that you could do on the other side.
It's the only thing you knew.
And that's vastly different today than it was 10, 15 years ago. Dude, honestly, I think it's going to be fine. I try to look at the bigger of the evils. And I think as much as some of the younger black and white, like you got to shoot 37 matches a month shit annoys me.
Right.
I would prefer that because I know that's going to push dudes further than this older homage to this old world where it's like, as long as you have a 1.75 second draw from the 5 o'clock with a vest on, you're going to be all right.
You're good.
It's we're always battling each other, but that doesn't mean we're fighting each other. Like I look at it like this. This is where my nerdum comes out. Return of the King.
What was that word? Nerdum?
Nerdum.
All right, gotcha.
Yeah, so Lord of the Rings.
It's a Louisiana thing?
We just make shit up.
Okay,
got
it. Gotcha.
We just made our own language up.
Roger.
Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. The end of the movie, you got Gandalf bringing down this mountain of troops coming down, or this may have been Two Towers, pushing like Minas Tirith, right? And all these horses are jumping out in front of each other, and there's some of them that are falling and getting trampled, and there's constantly like first place. That has to be an acceptable reality, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're not going to make, your end goal can't be to be the greatest shooter or the greatest instructor, because like you may make it for a week or a year or 6 months. Like what's the next thing? Like that's a personal goal. What are you trying to do with that? Like what's the output of your goal to other people, right? I'm excited. I think having come into this industry when it was very old, and the majority of the coaches and instructors and stuff were older dudes. Mm-hmm. It's exciting. I just really hope that they do stop to take a second and enjoy the history and all of the people that had to die along the way. The
shoulders that they're standing.
To give us the opportunity to just take advantage of this. Like this is so cool. You can't go anywhere else in the world and do this.
Yeah, I know. It's tough to deliver in a 12 hours or 16 hour, course or whatever. And you have to make a decision like where you're going to put your energy and how you deliver that message. And,
I'd love to do a 3-hour block on the foundation of the country and why it's so important.
Yeah, if you learn nothing today, take away this, that from those 3 hours. Yeah. Yeah, I feel you on that. Back to the instruction piece and who's coming. I want to know who your customers are. Like who's coming to you, man? Like who are these people?
It's a pretty good mix.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I think last year was probably 70-30 LE.
Okay.
And I think this year I'm giving some folks some opportunities on the hosting side to kind of host in places that typically have never hosted, or new ranges or new locations.
Got you. You're like, hey, I can come out here.
Hey,
and
dude, let's figure this out. Looking at some stuff in Sweden and Hawaii and Canada and parts of the country that typically don't get lots of training opportunities.
Okay.
Because these dudes are starved for it. And I can definitely go back to some of these major metro cities and compete with a bunch of other instructors and just get this constant dilution. Or I can, allow some dudes some opportunities that some other instructors have already passed up.
There's a lot of pie out there, man.
Yeah. So I think this year it's probably 60-40, somewhere in there.
Okay.
LE to open enrollment, because I'm kind of experimenting and trying some new stuff this year as far as how I travel and the amount of output that I'm putting out. Because I think last year we ended up having 48 classes published on the schedule. We had 56 in total, and then we ended up canceling 3 or 4 of them.
Okay.
Right. This year we're doing an additional 14 classes in total. So, dude, all of this, just like Billy said this pretty well, that we're all just still trying to figure this out. And we're trying to professionalize the traveling instructor game.
Yeah. It's a juggling act, man.
It is. And it takes time to get places. It takes time to prepare when you get to that place, right? There's only so much time in a day. You've got another life outside of this. And then, inevitably people will talk about work-life balance, right? Man, I am extremely privileged right? Massively privileged. I don't lead a normal life, right? I don't have kids that I got to pay attention to. I married my best friend 14 years ago. She travels with me half the time. Mm-hmm. The expectation is going to be different for me than another person.
Okay, I'm going to time you out on that. Yeah, and I agree, because I hear that as an excuse, for people a lot, or a reason, however you want to look at it, why they don't do certain things or they can't do certain things. Mm-hmm. But I also look at this at the same time. This is the way you set yourself up. Like, you knew what you wanted to do, and in the balance piece, like, how do I get the A plus A, right? The personal and the professional to match up with one another, rather than trying to square peg a round hole.
Sure.
Right? With, you have all these things, and now you're going out and you're trying to do this thing, and you are not set up for success this way. And part of it is you don't know what you don't know yet. You're going to have to learn some stuff, but you don't understand like what this is going to look like. If you're trying to copycat, like, okay, there may be a model there that you can follow, or a framework you can follow, or whatnot, but I see that happening, and that ends up being bad. And I think that actually leads to some of the, well, this is what this other guy did, so this is what I got to do, create the persona, be the internet personality, whatever else it is. That's how you get courses. That's how you get classes.
Comes off disingenuous.
Yeah, attach yourself to a brand or another company or something like that you feel like can catapult you with zero alignment, right? Which generally doesn't end well. But you set yourself up for this. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
you're good.
But I hear what you're saying. You're saying you're privileged, but you created that for yourself.
Sure.
So
sure. And through lots of opportunities, man. I had great friends along the way, great mentors that provided great opportunities. But that's one thing that I do appreciate currently is, man, I have not forgotten what it's like to suck at this, right? I remember exactly what it felt like to be sitting in that seat as opposed to standing up here with me.
Right.
Like I remember eating shit for a long time and not being good at this, right? Like the level of how cool it is when you're good at it is not reflective of how painful it is when you're bad at it, right? Like, nobody wants to be a 6'2", 225-pound dude that can't fucking shoot, right? So yeah, like just comes with time.
Yeah.
And that maturity has to be earned.
Yeah.
Right. Man, I was pretty sure on everything about 8 years ago.
Yeah, sure.
I'm almost positive of nothing.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
So.
Been through several of those stages of my life.
That's healthy.
It's interesting. Like, I'll be 51 in about a month. And I tell you what I know now is it's basically what you just said. Mm-hmm. Like, if you'd asked me 5 years ago what life would look like now, I couldn't imagine in my wildest dreams at a lot of different levels, the good and the bad, right? Like the unexpected things, and the best laid plans is all that is, man. It's just a plan, right? We'll see what happens so I evaluate things kind of on the short term. Like, I kind of take life 3 months at a time, if you will. Like,
at most.
I mean, people ask me like, so what's on the agenda this year? I go, man, like, I have some things that are hanging out there, but ask me in a week, ask me in a month what I'm doing, the next week, or next month, like, because I'm not exactly sure. Things have to be planned. Like, you're running a business, man. Things have to be calendared or whatever. But the journey in terms of along the way could create a lot of things. I have zero hard specific expectations. I have goals, right? But how we achieve those goals, I also understand is going to change, through self-examination. But going back to sort of the question on who your customers and who's coming. So let's take it to the law enforcement side for a minute. I want to talk about this. A lot of law enforcement listens to the show, and I've had tons of them on to talk about all kinds of different things. I wonder what you're seeing out there just in the culture of law enforcement with regard to their training. I mean, I think the fact that you're even there, that's a positive thing, right? So they're bringing outside instructors. I don't want to preload the answer, but I think there's a shift happening. Like, we need to get outside instruction. We're not going to get what we need inside here because we don't have the time, the resource, all the investment to make in making it better on our own. So there's a lot of bringing people in from the outside, right? There's going to be pros and cons to that, right? But I'm wondering what you're seeing and what shifts you're seeing, having done this for the time that you're doing it, and now doing it even more than you were doing it before. What's going on out there? Yeah.
So 10 years ago, most of this was non-existent as far as the law enforcement tactical world, right? You could go to a class 10, 12, 13 years ago, and 95% of the class was active law enforcement or military. That's about it, right? And then you may get lucky and there was like a competition class within a 3 or 4 hour drive that you can make it to. Then it would usually just be some weekend dudes there, like 4 or 5 dudes. The instructor's glad to have a class, all this stuff. About 10 years ago, there were murmurs, maybe some whisperings of like, hey, go shoot competition. Because the overarching ideology is like, yeah, like competition does breed excellence, right? You can't get around that. Now the nuance of that conversation is constantly changing and evolving. But back then, dude, I distinctly remember having conversations with like tactical instructors, and they'd be like whatever you do, do not ever go shoot a USPSA match. Like taking a bad class is one thing. Shooting a match is like 50 bad classes, right? You'll just go into a house and just start shooting brown. It's like, I've never heard of that in my life, but you're so positive of it.
So confident.
You've been doing it for so long.
The audacity.
That, like, I'm obviously wrong about this. And just all this other stuff. And then probably 6, 7, 8 years ago, more and more people started talking about, like, hey man, go shoot competition, right? Go deep dive into this, right? The first time I've heard it was from MSP, right? Probably 2017. But prior to that, I had watched Keith Garcia as a kid, like growing up, Shooting USA, and 3 Gun Nation got real big there for a little while and then died a terrible death. And then I remember watching those dudes and just being like blown away by what they're able to do. And so that's who I was watching when I came back from overseas and kind of started shooting matches and ended up shooting, I think, close to 20 matches or so in 2016 and really deep dive into that, getting super exposed to it and having a blast and all that. It's hard to hide these days, I think is what Ellie is trying to figuring out, right? I don't know if we're getting, I still think it's the same amount of dudes, right? I still think like the bottom 20% just doesn't want to be there.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, I'd break this down.
Like the middle pack is just like, I'll take
whatever, as long as I'm meeting the thing.
Yeah, I need my paycheck. I need to do a decent job. But I still think the top 10, 15% are still there.
Yep.
But the gap between those 10 to 15 and the other 60 to 80 is so massive.
Stretching,
now. Yeah, man, like, dude, I love, like, a lot of dudes won't go do TOAs, right? Like TTPOA and KTOA and MPTOA.
You mean from the instructor perspective?
Yeah, because they typically don't like pay out big money and stuff like that. Dude, I love them, right? Because you get, like, those cops aren't super invested in the class per se. Like, they're there and they're going to give you full 100% honest feedback because, like, they probably didn't sign up for it in the first place.
They didn't pay for it.
Yeah, and I love that. And like, so like KTOA this last year, Kentucky Tactical Officer Association, right? Bunch of great dudes there, great administrators. Like, the dudes running things are phenomenal. They shot like a full USPSA match on the beginning of the conference. Did stages, like it's just this massive movement as a department. Those dudes go shoot matches together, right? As teams, they go shoot matches together. That was unheard of 10, 15 years ago. And I think we're starting to see that more and more and more because it's, dude, if you're going to call yourself a gunfighter and you're going to do all these things and the only time that we ever see you is in full kit walking through a house, your longevity is stunted because we know that you can't do the thing, right? Like, you can hide behind the gear, you can hide behind paying for the thing, but if you can't stand there with no stress and hit the thing fast and accurately, that's where you should start right now. Go backwards. Go fix that. And I think Ellie's starting to figure that out. Right? And just the insane dynamic situations those dudes are put in these days, this slow reset of the trigger and pin and sights fall back down and all this shit, like, that's not keeping dudes alive, right? That's not helping dudes win fights, right? They're surviving them on occasion, thankfully, but that's not what the good teams are doing, right? That's not what the guys that are winning multiple fights in a row are doing. That's not what the dudes that are doing it correctly are doing, right? So let's stop doing the shit that our range master has been doing for 27 years, and let's start doing the thing that the 25-year-old kid that can burn everyone the fuck down in here is advocating for. Because not only can he teach it to us, he can show us, obviously, in real time. And when I do the thing, it works, right? Like, those are the 3 things that have to happen. You got to be able to say it. You got to be able to do it. And you got to be able to make me do it. And if you can do those things, dude, you can change minds. You can change minds quickly.
Yeah. this is the power of the internet, actually. I think with regard to that transparency is because people are seeing it. Everybody's seeing it, right? Like it's showing up.
It's phenomenal.
Body worn cam footage is there, man. Everything. There's a camera everywhere now, whether it's on a phone or CCTV or whatever. Everybody's kind of seeing this stuff, and you have to face the reality of it. I think that's the interesting part for these cops, again, going in with regard to these conferences that you might be going to, and they didn't pay for this, but they're there, and they've seen that camera footage too, so they know,
they're aware.
And so what that does is it forces, because you've seen it now, right, and you're forced to look at it, and maybe something really horrific happened, and maybe you knew that person, or they're in the agency, a town, or whatever. You have a choice to make, right? At that point, you can either, again, going back to like, you can either face this thing and address it, or you can go back to your little cave and just being good enough or whatever, and look good with the tight shirt.
But know that little voice is going to be there.
Yeah, and I think the public voices that are continuing to say it are influencing this too, to the extent that they're bringing people in from the outside, like you said, to do that. A lot of positive. You mentioned the comp stuff. I'm seeing little LE sanctioned comps kind of happen all over the country. Yeah. And people are fired up about them. I mean, they're selling out. Like, I was just talking to this guy, Corey's out of Texas. He's going to be running one with the Jorge Pastor Foundation in Texas in a couple of months.
Nice.
He put it out there. I can talk about this. Yeah, because it's sold out like in 30 seconds. Yeah. Or 30 minutes, sorry.
I believe that.
Sold out like 30 minutes. Like 200 shooters.
Hell yeah.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
All LE?
All LE. It's all LE guys. Right? And now he's like, I didn't see that happening. Right? And I was like, how do we make this happen again? Yeah. Right? Let me get this proof of concept, and let's get this done. Let's do it right. And he's got some cool stuff. After it happens, I promised I would meet with him, and then we'd talk about it when I see him at TTPOA this year. Right? So the point of that being is it's people are being inspired, like whether it's because of the little voice in their head, or it's because the guys are bullying them, to go do it, or they're being encouraged or motivated in some kind of way. It's
available. It's free.
It's there. It's accessible, right, to them now. And even instructors are putting together like intro to competition shooting. Like, okay, here's a safe, maybe less ego damaging way to get in there and learn it. Like, learn like what equipment you need or don't need. Right, like show up with your duty rig, man. Like let's just go shoot. Like let's not make this something that it isn't. No, you don't have to wear special clothes, right? You don't have to look any kind of way. Yeah, we just got to come out and do this. I think that's super positive. On the flip side, some people are very resistant to this, and I'm not relating that specific to competition. I'm just saying, just with the change that's happening. I just had a guy on the other day, and was talking about they're just now, major agency in Northern California, big agency, just now this week, they're getting red dots.
Oh yeah, I believe that 100%.
And because there has been a faction there's like, no, we don't need these things. Like, it's not going to make anybody a better shooter. True, strapping a piece of equipment on your gun doesn't make you a better shooter. But like, what can it teach you about being a better shooter? What can you learn by going through the process?
But they also got the same option to get to work in a 2025 F-250 or a horse and buggy, and they still chose the 2025 F-250.
It's a great point and a really good way of looking at it, right? And so it's driving. Change is being driven in a good way, I think. But you have some of these old factions that are there. But the point of that being is they're bringing people in. They're getting exposed. And I love what you said right there. I don't want this to get past anyone. It didn't get past me that you're looking for new markets, right? And providing opportunities for people that might not necessarily have them because they're hungry, man. Yeah. They want this stuff, and they might not have the finance. They might not have the time. Like, they might not have the bandwidth to do it, working in little cities or, getting to places. I think that's super important. Like, you're spreading the virus, right? To a certain extent.
The number one feedback I get is the relayance and the patience of class, right? Like, there's a lot of instructors that you can go to and they're just going to bark at you all day. And this is like, all right, dude, hey, here's what I expect of you. And then you don't do that thing because you've never done that thing before and you don't know how to do that thing. And they're just like, all right, dude, do the thing. Or just don't listen to me, whatever you want to do. And they'll just walk off and get mad that you're not doing the things that they want you to do. I don't have patience in any other aspect of my life. Like, I have patience on a range. And when I talk about new markets, I don't necessarily mean like new ways of making money. I specifically mean like to show people that there's something else out there. Right? If you've gone to class in the past and your instructor was a cock, right? They're not all like that, right? We're going to show you something different. We're going to be patient. We're going to talk directly to you, not down to you, right? We're going to be forgiving of your mistakes as long as they're not attributionally unsafe, right? We're going to teach you how to drop the ego. We're going to work through these mental problems. We're not just going to fuss at you and tell you what to do. And then when you don't do those things, just be like, cool, man. Well, then until you do that thing, you're never going to be a GM, right? Like, I want to walk you through it because I remember how it felt, right? I remember having those dickhead instructors. I remember having, military instructors and law enforcement instructors that were just like terrible. And I don't want my students to feel that way, right? So when I talk about new markets, I mean like new ways of delivering the same information, right? Like, I think people will probably see this podcast and see other podcasts and be, man, like, Hunter seems stuck at level 10. And I usually am. But when I'm on the range, that's the only time it kind of tilts back to 2, right? And because I'm invested. I love this. I enjoy watching you get better. I enjoy trying to figure out, because I've been doing it enough at this point that, like, I can watch you do something and know what the issue is and then give you one small critique and know that it's going to fix the thing that's causing you the problem, right? That's fun.
Then you see the light bulb go on.
Yeah. And then we get to both love the thing together for a second. And then we move on to the next thing, right? And it's this constant experiential
exchange of energy. Yeah.
Just go back and forth.
No, I think people going back to the level 10 versus the level 2 and what you said right there about well, I said the light bulb, but you get to see it work in action. Like, I look at that as a paycheck or deposit, right? Yeah. There's deposits and withdrawals, and you're constantly getting these deposits and getting fulfillment because you're seeing somebody else make that next step forward. I've talked to about this with other folks, but that has to be a big part of this. I think for you to be successful at it, like it can't just be about, look what I did. It's look what that person just did.
Somebody else is going to come do it better next year, most likely. Yeah. Are they going to make more? Are they going to do it bigger?
I also see the frustration. There's a question in this one, but I also see the frustration as I talk to instructors that go back to the same places quite frequently, because the market exists, right? And there's a few new people, but what I've been told is that I'm seeing the same people that I've seen once a year for the last 5 years, and they're the exact same shooters they were 5 years ago. And that frustrates them.
It is very frustrating.
And it makes them examine, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what am I not imparting, right, to help this person be better? That can also be an energy suck.
It's a net negative. Yeah. I used to have a bigger issue with it than I do now, or as far as interaction with it. I talk about that in my class. Right? Okay. I tell dudes all the time, like, man, I do not want to be the only dude you train with, right? Like, you're going to cut yourself short if I'm the only dude you train with. I'm giving you a baseline, right? I'm teaching you shooting in isolation. I'm teaching you scalpel level precision parts of shooting. This is academia. Like, you need to go to war, right? You need to go storm a beach or two, right? Like, this is going to teach you what you need to see, but you need to go shoot USPSA. You need to go do some steel challenge. You need to go do carbine work. You need to go do this other stuff. I'm just teaching you the clean version of it, right? When everything goes perfectly, this is what I can expect, right? You have to have the ability to kind of change that up on the fly. I'm trying to think where I want to go with this.
Well, let me
be specific with the words. Go ahead.
Yeah, like, I don't want to interrupt the thought process there, but you mentioned, like, the clean version, and to me, it's teaching somebody how to train properly.
It is. And so when I say I put that out in class, I don't want to be the only dude you train with. I want to be a dude you train with, but not the only dude. It's, like I said, I used to experience it more back then than I do now, because it's like, this class, you're going to get better, right? You're going to come to class to get better. We're going to shoot probably 1,200 rounds. You're going to get better by proxy of doing that. But if you stop today, and this was just a fun weekend with the boys, you've wasted your money. This is a fun experience. Dude, you don't have to pay me to hang out with me, right? I'll probably run into you across the road sometime, right? You don't have to pay me. You have to put the work in. The class is teaching you how to train. It's teaching you what to look for, right? How to self-diagnose, how to tinker, how to experiment,
I love that
how to
word.
Explore, how to, like, be curious about what you're seeing and doing, right? Like that's, if I could pass anything down to another shooter, right? Other than like how to grip the gun, pull the trigger. I want you to be curious. I want you to be like, oh, why was this not perfect? Why did this suck? Right? Like I want you to want to know why more. Right. And hopefully in 2 days, I can transition that curiosity to you to where you continue to ask those questions moving forward.
Yeah. That word tinker, the tinkerer,
Yep.
that actually, when I first got into the space, annoyed me a little bit. I have some friends, good guys. They come into the gym. They'll hopefully listen to this. They'll know who I'm talking about. They come into the gym. They're a group of dudes that train together, but more than that, they tinker together, right? And all kinds of stuff. But shooting is a passion of theirs, and they're connected to it for all the right reasons. I love these dudes. They've been super supportive of me, and I try to do the same in return. My point in saying all that is, when I first kind of got introduced to them and was out on the range and we'd see one another regularly, I recognized a couple of them were those tinkerers, and they knew a lot of stuff. And for me, like I don't want to say it was judgmental, but it was like, dude, you're getting so deep into so many other things, like, and the shooting was getting better, but I'm like, I feel like you're filling your plate up with too much stuff. So this is me, and this is my coaching brain again, coming from what I do, or how I put food on the table, is people trying to major in the margins, right? And yeah, and I was like, hold on, man, like they went to the extent to have all the right stuff, right, to set them up for success. And in my experience, it's like, you're doing too much right now, man. Do less. Just focus on these things, because that's how I handled my business, right? And that's what worked for me, and that's what I've seen be most successful for most people. And I was looking at it, and it was a little, I was like, I don't know if this isn't the right word, but this is the only thing that comes to my mind. I was kind of annoyed by it. I was like,
I get it.
Dude, this is kind of annoying. Like, all the gear, right? All
quit being a nerd, just do the thing.
Yeah, that's it. Like, quit being a nerd and do the thing. But what I recognized was they were nerds, and they were doing the thing, because they continued to continue to improve. So I think that I changed my mind on that, right? It was like, hey, like, these guys are doing work. Like, they're going home, they're watching YouTube videos, right? They're reading, they're studying, right? They are being students of this game, and they know, like, everything there is to know about night vision, right? And they know everything to know about the thing that's stuck in their pants, right? And I was like, I don't really have any interest in night vision, not yet, but you guys are kind of like, now you're kind of inspiring me to want to know more. Like, how did you learn all this stuff? And it's about going out and being a student of that thing. And I think there's what I also see, like, I think what I was watching was, but there are other guys on the range that appeared to be tinkerers, but they were more like playing dress up. Like, what do I got to do to look the part? And if I just spend the money on the thing, like, I'll get the skill.
They were busy filling holes in the tank.
Yeah, that's it. I think somehow guys like that get mixed up in the, you're being a LARPer, or whatever else. But now I look back and I go, those fucking guys did the work. Those are not dudes I would want to have to cross paths with in a on the other side, kind of thing.
But I also think that we can brute strength everything too.
Yes, and so what happened with this group, and I love them. They got very turned off by that message that they were getting, like, stop it, man. I never said that out loud, but it was in the back of my head, kind of originally going, oh, okay, man. Like, but I was seeing them publicly, not directly to them, but publicly, those guys are being shamed, right? And bullied. But they kept putting in the work and kept putting in the work, and they will never say a word. That's the other part. They're very quiet about it, right? And they just do their own thing. I know what my little tribe is. I know what we're doing here, and they stay focused to the game. So this brings me kind of to the next question about, like, so we talked about the 60-40, 70-30. What about the civilian side of things? And when I say civilian, like, what about the non-cop, right? That's coming to you. Who are these people, man? Where are they coming to? Why do they tell you they came to you? Like, what's the feedback that you get there?
Yeah, that's always interesting, because that's probably one of the hardest things to get the truth from. Like, dude, why did you truly come here? Like, what brought you to the class? Right?
Yeah. Why? Yeah. The why you came to the class, but I think the question I have is, like, why is that the hard part? Why is that the tricky part to actually get to that? What's the disconnect?
Dude, I think internal honesty is hard for everyone anyways, right? And I think it can be boiled down to something pretty simple, right? Like, that dude can do something that I can't do, and he seems like he knows how to talk about it.
Okay,
right?
great,
Like,
great.
that was
starting point.
the attraction for me to other instructors early on. Was like, I want to do that.
That makes sense.
Right? And he can do it easy. And there's other dudes that he works with, that he's trained with, that can also do that thing now.
It's a very rational, logical way of looking at it. Yep.
Yeah, but it I think the same reason that regular dudes come to me is the same reason that cops come to me, right? Like, there is no ego involved in class. I'm not going to shit on you. I want to see my dot more often. I want to see it all the damn time.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what to expect at different size targets, at different size distances, in different situations, right? I'm not super interested in going and starting a career in USPSA, right? So I don't really care about 2 and 3 step entries and exits, right? I don't really care about, hit factor scoring, right? But I do want to be fast. And I do want to be accurate. I do want to learn this stuff. And maybe I come take your class and that sparks the want to go do USPSA, right? And stuff like that. So I think it's the people that want to shoot, the people that want to learn how to handle the gun correctly and well, identify that key part of my class and think, well, he's not centric to USPSA. He's not centric to the tactical world. Looks like he's just kind of teaching the thing that I want to know. And that seems to be the intermediate guideline that majority of the feedback that I get kind of exists in.
Okay.
Around.
That's what I want for everybody. I mean, that's why I took courses. Like I think what you said initially was very true. It was like, well, I can see what that guy's doing, right? I can hear him saying it, right? And I can read between the lines on some things, and I might not necessarily like the way he's saying it, but I understand what he's saying, and he's putting energy into it, he's putting effort into it, and so I chased that a little bit, but then it changed, and because once I had a couple of experiences, I was able to kind of compare and contrast, like, well, they're actually saying exactly the same thing, or they're very different things, right? It was very much, there was very little middle ground on any of that. It was very, and then I had questions about it, but my thing is I started to identify like what I wasn't good at or what I wasn't getting from other instructors. And then ultimately what I found were the people that were doing all of the things the right way. And that happened through connection and again, going back to like, how do you get there? I was very fortunate to be invited into some circles very early. I don't know how that happened. Well, I do. Like, I can make some very specific connection points in terms of crediting people, which I do quite frequently, on the show and then outside of here all the time. But the point of that being is like I was able to navigate around a lot of that very quickly. And what I recognized was basically what you just described is what the most successful coaches and instructors in this industry are doing. Yep. And it is not a mystery. That's why I want to have you articulate it, because what you just said is the same thing that people are having success with everywhere. And more importantly, to your point, for the consumer, having longevity in it. Yeah. And I'm not sure, maybe it is, but I think that's becoming more realized by the consumer market because the message is starting to get a little bit clearer. People have
more time to fail.
Yeah, exactly. They've had a little bit more time. And again, like you said, there's this huge influx, through 2020 and this renaissance, that's happening. It's starting to clear up. I'm curious what your thoughts are on like the future trajectory of like instruction. Like, where is this thing going? What do you see happening? I don't know. Again, we just talked about like what's going to happen in 5 years. I don't freaking know. But if you just kind of like the trends that are happening now, where do you kind of see this thing going?
Man, I'm very appreciative to be around right now. I think this is one of the most opportunistic times in the shooting world, right? Like, we have so much control over where this goes and who's a part of it and how deep we get into this, right? I think we'll continue to see this USPSA-centric world come to fruition, which I think is phenomenal. I don't want to see the same pitfalls that everyone made 20 years ago, right? So who did we rely on for information, shooting information 20 years ago, as far as the internet's concerned?
It was the military.
Military, soft dudes, right? And I I'm guilty as the next guy. Like, we leaned into that shit. Like, dude, if you had a beard and a cool job in the military and a couple of deployments and some pictures on your social media that, dude, like, man, brother, how was Route Tampa in 2005, right? And how is that going to make me a better shooter right now? There was a mass psychosis towards those guys, right? And then through time and failure, figuring out that, like, all right, those dudes aren't shooters, right? Or at least they're not pushing out high-level shooting information, because if those dudes end up with a pistol in their hands, shit's gone really bad, right? And now we've seen this massive swing in the industry to where we have almost a similar ideology towards USPSA national and world champions, right?
That's interesting.
It's like, man, we believe everything. It was 2002. We believe everything that these GWAT boys are saying, right? It's 2026. The GMs can't be wrong, right? And dude, I may be wrong on this, right? Maybe they're always right. I could be wrong. But I hate the black and whiteness of that, right? Like, there's nuance to it. There's levels of this shit, right? There are some phenomenal GM level instructors out there that bust ass and take it realistically and professionally, right? And they want to make people better. But you also have a large portion of people that are just trying to become bigger competitors, right? They're trying to make up a larger market share of their footprint, right? Where it's like, well, I've been teaching here, I won a few sectionals, I've done this, now I'm going to start teaching, right? You might remember this, you might not, and this may piss some people off. This induction of the performance shooting world has been really interesting, right? Because performance, if we attribute it to anything else, it's the highest attribution that you can get in a isolated skill set, right? Like, I'm pushing like a performance for a motor or a transmission or a race car, something like that. Like, we're trying to go as fast, as quick, with as much torque and horsepower as we're trying to go, right? And I think we've muddied those waters, right? I think performance shooting is speed and accuracy, right? And performance shooting can be exactly what you want it to be, right? Whether I agree with it or disagree with it. But I do remember about 10 years ago where competition classes were not filling, right? You had lots of competition dudes that were trying to be instructors as well, and they just could not figure out a way to get dudes in their class, right? And then we saw a massive rebranding about 4 years ago where we stopped seeing USPSA competition classes and everything was performance. Performance handgun, performance pistol, performance rifle.
The titles of the classes, right?
And all of a sudden we had this big recursion into competitive shooting. And I think it's a double-edged sword, right, man? I think we're going to get way more benefit from it, but I also think, like, I'm not trying to trade the gods of the old world for the gods of the new world, right? Let's stop creating mountains of men and just, like, good shooting is good shooting, right? You can either help people do it or you can't. You're either capable of it or you aren't, right? We don't have to create gods of ourselves, right? Because we're going to watch them die in front of our face within a few months either way.
That's exactly it. I mean, you create empires, right? And you
got to watch them burn one day.
Create deities, and they all end up in the same place eventually, right? Every time. Foundationally or fundamentally, there's things that have lasted since the beginning of man, right? And you can root back to those things pretty simply. I think that's an interesting perspective. I actually hadn't thought about it that way, just in terms of the shifts. I mean, I think intrinsically, like, I kind of see what you're saying. I could see that, but the way you put it and where it can go to, it's interesting. Yeah, man.
And there's a lot of folks that won't like me saying.
Yeah, no.
It's not derogatory towards anybody. It's just a perceptible thing that I've seen. I'm not
taking it that way. Sure. Yes, everybody's gonna. Feelings are things, right? People are gonna have feelings about stuff. But you're right, and I'm encouraged when I see people, like, really taking on the challenge of USPSA or competition shooting, whatever it happens to be, right? And going all in on that, and going down that path. And I see people really fired up about it. They're starting their separate Instagram pages. This is my training page. I'm like, dude, that fires me up. I mean, this goes back to, like, again, I hate to do this. I do so many of these things at the show. So if I said this already, I'm sorry. But I was like CrossFit, when CrossFit came in, right? To when it hit the fitness scene. Like, for me initially, I was like, what is this, man? Like, this is wild, because while me as a I looked at it from my own personal perspective, looks pretty cool. There's some pretty fit people doing some pretty crazy stuff, man. Like, and I respect the hell out of that. Like, there's a lot going on there, right? But then I saw, like, this consumer market start to gobble it up, and it became like religion, right? Yes. And this is what we do. And initially I was like, this is going to be bad. This is going to end poorly. and it didn't.
Right.
And part of that was the community that they built around it. And nobody will ever repeat that.
Yeah.
Nobody will ever do what...
Dude, that was the most massive growth of an organization I've ever watched in my life, and I wasn't even a part of it.
It was wild, right? And so that was a little scary at the same time from a guy inside the business who had skin in the game to that, at the same time. But what I realized, and it actually happened fairly quickly within the first couple of years of that going on, is what I watched is how fired up it got people about fitness and what it introduced them to. Mm-hmm. Because going back to history, man, there was a period of time, actually, this could be an extended thread, so bear with me on this because some thoughts are popping into my head, but there was a period of time where people just forgot how to lift fucking weights.
Oh, yeah.
And I was dealing with it. Like we were training trainers to not really teach people how to lift weights
because it was about personality, not practice.
All you need is this freaking, physio ball or a Bosu and a couple of, all you need is a kettlebell.
That's what so-and-so did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's all you need. And you can train, all you need is a 6-foot box to train in and you can make somebody sweat, get their heart rate up and, do these things. They forgot how to lift weights. Well, CrossFit taught, reintroduce weights to people, barbells. Like, again, they would walk into gyms, and so my gym, when people walk into it for the first few years I was open, oh, you guys do CrossFit here? I go, no, man, I don't do CrossFit. Yeah. I don't do CrossFit here. And I don't say that like in a belittling way to that brand or to that organization at all. It's like, no, I don't subscribe to that methodology. But yes, we have kettlebells here. Yes, there's a lot of barbells and plates here. Yes, we have dumbbells here. Yes, we have racks and, jungle gyms for people to pull and push and do stuff from. CrossFit,
we allow you to move your body here.
CrossFit didn't. We have turf. We have sleds. Yeah, we have all of that stuff. That I don't have a bunch of traditional, pin and weight stack type of equipment and whatever. I have a few cardio pieces, but I don't have 30,000 square feet of it. Like you'd see in the big box gym down the street. But people were relating to that. They recognized it and they recognized the brand, and that's not what I'm talking about. What they recognize is these are the things that you can do in this gym, which people didn't have any clue about. Like the only way you would have had any exposure to that is if you went through an environment, much like the GWAT maybe, or in this case, you were an athlete that went through a college and you walk in, and it looks like a strength and conditioning room. Yep. So you have those coaches walking in and they'd be like, oh, okay, all right, this I can work with.
Yeah, look at all the opportunity.
And then the consumer started to recognize, oh, okay, this is something I can work with, and they're starting to recognize, and I have credit CrossFit to a lot of the success that I had as a gym owner for a few reasons. One, because it reintroduced people to fitness and lifting weights and the things that they should be doing, right? Yep. Again, the order of which you do it and the intensities and all that kind of stuff, we can talk about that. That's a different podcast. But the point of that was they were coming in and they were ready to, they had their hands on barbells. They knew about resistance training. It was being reintroduced to them, much like the shooting world, right? And then CrossFit did its thing. People were coming back to the gym. The other thing I have to tip my hat off to them is because they sent me lots of injured people.
Heck yeah. Right? Oh, yeah.
And we could deal with those problems, right, at a skillful level. Mm-hmm. But then now you're seeing in that industry like this wild shit that these kids are learning and they're picking up on the internet. I'm like, what? They're strapping cuffs to their arms to do, like limited range of motion type of stuff and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, what is going on here? It's good that you're working out, but it's kind of that thing again. We're watching this cycle happen. And so when I look at shooting the way you just explained it, yeah, we're going to see a lot more of this for a long time, and a lot of good things are going to come out of it. There's going to be some weird shit that's going to happen, right? But there's going to be a lot of good things coming out of it, and people are going to come to the table and learn how to make the connection again and figure out what's right for them.
Yeah. And you need to develop the self-awareness to know what's actually weird and what's just different.
Yep.
Right? Like if instructor pulls you in class, right, and puts you guys in front of like poles with medicine bands and starts doing shit like that with your gun, you're like, this is new. What the fuck does this have to do with making me a better shooter? Right. Whereas, maybe your instructor has you stepping over a bar or maybe shooting in positional stances that aren't exactly the same every single time.
Right? A little unorthodox, right? Yeah. So we're seeing an evolution here. It'd be interesting to watch. I appreciate that. That actually just kind of blew my mind a little bit, just in terms of kind of making relations to specifically the fitness industry and how the cycles come through. I think a lot of good things are going to come out of it. At the same, I would agree with you 100%, particularly with the way you articulated that. I think the discovery process will continue, and as a result, there's money to be made in this. So you will see new things, right?
Yeah. And think of all the organizations and businesses and stuff that CrossFit created, like just massive markets of things.
Tons of things. And some of it will be weird and some of it will be really beneficial, and it will continue to evolve. And it will then start to bleed into, institutional law enforcement and, the military, and you're starting to see that's certainly happened.
Well, look at the military changing their PT test to a functional test.
What I'm saying, like even now the military is bringing in a lot of outside instructors that they would have never brought in before, and they're not necessarily GM shooters.
Yeah,
right. They're starting to recognize like, okay, that's a thing, like, and that's important, but we're recognizing that these other guys that may not do that stuff have a lot to bring to the table here, and while that's a nice qualification or tick mark, like. They're actually researching it and going back to the internet. The internet's giving them accessibility to actually see what they're doing rather than, well, this is what the guys at this beach place did that wear, certain hats and have insignias on them. And so because they're doing that, we want that too. Yeah. So they just copy one another. I watch instructors get a little bit pissy about the fact that they may not be getting those contracts anymore because some of these other people are moving it. That is all very good.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's all very good.
Yeah, that's good hate. Right, like that's productive hate, right? Because that dude that maybe had been getting those contracts because of his resume, what's he have to do now to get those contracts again?
What's the body of work that
he's got to go bust his ass again?
Yeah.
Right? And it's going to drive him or it's going to push him out, and we benefit from both of those things.
Yeah, I agree, and I definitely seeing that. We're definitely seeing that happen now, and to the extent we are in the world and where we are as a country, and the amount of money that's being spent to boost our military, like. Things are going to happen.
The fight's coming.
It's coming. And they're going to need that stuff more than ever. And they're going to be a little bit behind the curve, which creates opportunity for, this industry to do a better job at delivering the things that they need to actually do the thing.
Yep. And if you look at history, we've typically been behind the curve at the beginning of every conflict. But what America does well is scale. We scale very well, right? Like, it's the old joke, like you fuck with us, you'll end up with, 100,000 pounds of steel at your doorstep within 24 hours, right? We did it in multiple theaters across the past 100 years. If the American spirit can be combined with the American manufacturing capability.
Innovation,
those two things are the most powerful sources on the face of the earth, right? There's no place that America can't extend their hand to quickly, violently, and with a lot of intent and effort and force, right? And I think we've kept the world, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here.
Do it.
And I think we've kept the world safe for a long time, right? We're not perfect. We fucked up in the past, but I think Pax Americana has provided the world with a level of safety over the past 100 years that it's never experienced before, right? Prior to that, it was, I think, the Pax Romana, and then prior to that was, or maybe Pax Britannica, and then Pax Romana behind it. But like, we have provided a level of safety for everyone, right? With what we have, right? The American spirit, American manufacturing, American firepower. And I think the further we get away from that, our influence degrades, our capability degrades, our power, our place on the food chain continues to degrade, right? And I think the closer we get back to that, the more lethal we become. And I think we're going to start to see that over the next 12 months. We're going to start seeing a ramp up
that fast
recruiting.
Yeah.
I think we'll be in theater within 12 months. I think by the end of this year, we will be in theater actively against an opposing force on the ground on national television
this year.
100%.
Yeah.
And whether we are or not, I hope we aren't, but I think we will be. And I think until we lean back into that, I think we're going to have to read names that we don't want to read on the news for a long time.
Yeah, this might not sound good saying this, but I just think about the opportunity that exists there, right, to contribute, right, and benefit at the same time to those efforts or to those things that are happening. Is wherever you stand on any of this stuff, like it provides opportunity for Americans to be Americans, right, and the land of opportunity. Yeah, create things, build things, contribute to things that are bigger than them. And yes, you can make some money doing that. And there's things that happen with that. Money makes people weird, right? Yes. But at the same time, when I think about this space, right, and the responsibility that if it feels that way, it can take to contributing to this, particularly like on the instructor side of things, and providing some like a conduit of understanding between what those people will be doing when they are in those environments to what you should be doing as an American here while other people are out fighting those things somewhere else. We need to be here preparing for the thing.
Oh yeah.
Whatever that is.
We've fallen a long way from what can I do for my country, as opposed to what my country can do for me. And I could do a 4-hour podcast on that, dude. I'm a pretty outspoken American chauvinist, right? Like, I think we're great. I think we're better, right? And I look forward to the opportunity to continue to prove that, right? Whether people like it or not, that's what I think. I'm going to keep acting on it.
Well, it is how the country was built, right? And it definitely doesn't stay the same unless, unfortunately, some things have to happen.
There's a responsibility. There's a burden.
There is.
It's uncomfortable.
Whether you ask for it or not. Yeah.
While there is a privilege, there's an overarching burden. And if you think that you can, dude, I think the greatest credit card in the world is pain, right? Suffering, right? And you're never done paying that off, man. And I've tried every single way around to get to where I want to go that doesn't involve suffering and pain. And it typically causes more suffering and pain, right? And it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be a stoic, right? You don't have to be a self-deprecating, sadist, but like, get in what you put out of it, right? I think we've spent a long time not putting into it enough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating for me to watch. Like, I have a hard time with it, but at the same time, like, I'm with you, and I'm not looking forward to any of that, but at the same time, like, I know that it's necessary, so I don't really have any kind of feeling about that, but I guess I know the realities. I think people, whether they want to admit it or not, they actually know that too. Yeah. We will become very acquainted and acclimated quickly to the violence that we've forgotten, and it's super sad because it's not going to be one group that feels it, or one side, or one political ideology that feels it. We're all going to feel it. And man, we live a great life, the greatest time to be alive, and the greatest place to be alive ever on the face of the earth. Never gets past me.
People are so quick to be like, no, let's fucking burn it down. It's like, all right. People die in fires, lots of them. And I think it's going to be a really sad deal when we piss all this away. Hope we don't, but we'll see how it goes.
I'm with you on that. Hunter, this is a good time, man.
Enjoyed it.
We should hang out more.
We should. I'm in California a lot now, man.
I'm excited to see
love coming out
continue to build this thing and take it the direction you're going. And you're not, when some of those places are not far from me. I promise I will take you up on your generous offers.
Love that.
This coming year, we will work this out. I'll figure it out and make that investment to get there, man. Just in time and effort and energy. I just got to get it on the calendar and make it happen. Thank you for your time, man.
Thank you for having me. It's a great time.
Thanks for just being you and the conversation. And I think also, like, just the contribution, not just to the show, but like to the things that you're doing. Because I know that this conversation will resonate with people, and some people will like some of the things they heard, and some people that won't. And that's the best part of doing this show, is to just give people a little bit of a different perspective. But I hope what they take away from this is just like, if there was any mystery, about what they're gonna. I get this question a lot. Like, I have this amazing opportunities to sit down with folks like you that grace me with their time. And I get the question a lot, is like, so is that dude really the same dude? So if you made it this far on the podcast, you get that already. Like, this is what the guy you see on the internet is the same guy that's sitting across the chair from you right now, and the same guy that'll show up on the range if you show up to one of his classes. Where do they go, man?
Open to have my mind changed.
Yeah, well, you let me know when that happens.
Thank you.
Yeah, where do they go, man? Where do they go to find out more about you?
Super simple, man. hfshooting.com, website, schedule, contacts, discount codes, all the fun stuff's there. Honestly, typically the easiest way to connect with me is through Instagram, right? As much as I hate being on there,
I was just going to say that.
Necessary evil.
Yeah.
And I try to be as approachable as possible. Now, people may see responses to drive-by shit postings.
Yep.
That's not how I'm going to respond to you, right? Like, man, if you come correct and you're curious and you have questions and you seek help and you want clarity, man, dude, I will. Call me at midnight, dude. Call me at lunch when I'm teaching, right? Call me whenever you want. I will help you. I will go out of my way. I'll make a video for you. I'll set you up with other instructors. I'll do what I can. But you got to come correct.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, no, I know you to be very responsive. I also know, like, if you pick a fight, if somebody picks a fight with you, you go ahead and finish it.
Sure.
If it's worth fighting. So
I'll lose fights all the
winning or losing, whatever. It depends on how you measure that, man. But man, I appreciate you. Thanks for your time and for your energy today. Get you back downstairs to whatever it is that you got to get yourself to.
All the insanity.
All the stuff. Keep doing you, man.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, man.